In this video, you're going to build the main content of your folder page, and that's the content of the table, which is the different rows showing the name of the file or folder, its size, and the time it was last modified. So to make things structured, we're going to use again a function that I'm going to call build main content. So we will store it inside a variable. Let's call this variable main content, like that. So this function will take any parameters that we need in order to build this content right there. And just to structure our code further, I'm going to place these lines where we replace content inside the data variable. I'm going to place them right there. And let's take this one as well and place it right there. So once we are done with the main content, we'll do the same thing, and we'll just replace whatever we want to replace inside our template with the value of our variable main content. So let's go to our templates and see what we've got inside the table. So that's the table head, and these are the different rows inside the table body. So let's say that we're going to have something right there saying main content. So we'll just replace that string main content with the value of our variable main content. Just like we did with the function breadcrumb, we'll create this function main content or build main content in a separate file, and we'll link our current file to that file. So we're going to require the path of that file. So let's call it, for example, main content.js. So let's create it. So I'm going to create it in the same folder where we've got respond.js. Okay, and so what we're going to do here, we're going to create our function, then export it. So let's call it build main content. So at the moment, we don't know yet what parameters we're going to pass to the function. We'll see that in a bit. And right at the end, we are going to set module.exports to this function. Okay, just to make sure that things are working, let's just return something like a table row, and let's place some dummy data inside it. So name of our file, and then size, for example, 100, and last modified, for instance, let's take this one. Okay, so let's test this, and now if you try your code just like that, it's not going to work because you've got the return keyword alone in one line. So JavaScript will just treat this as a return statement, and it will ignore anything that comes after. So to avoid that, you can just have or start your string right there, and then carry on with your table row. So let's save and try this. So you can see our table row right there. All right. Now let's start building our build main content function. So let's have a look first at the structure of this function. So first of all, you will need to loop through the elements of your folder. So that's going to be the first step. Loop through the elements inside the folder. Then the next step is to get the following elements for each item. So you want the name of the item to display it like that. You want also the link to the item so that you can click on that and it will take you to the correct item. And also you want the size and the last modified information. And also you want the icon. So let's add that right there. So the icon will depend on whether it's a file or a folder. And to make things easy, you can create a variable. You can call it main content at the top, which you will amend using any details you retrieve. And then right at the end, you can return that variable. So for now, let's just say that we will set this variable to that and return this content. Okay, so let's start with looping through the elements inside the folder. So to do this, there is a very useful method inside the file system module called read directory sync. So we're going to use the sync version again because we want to wait for the outputs before we move to any other code. So this is the method read directory sync. So this will take the full static path of your folder. So we will need to pass that to the function. So full static path. So when you call the function right there, you're going to call it and pass to it the full static path variable. Okay. And this is what you're going to pass to the method read directory sync. Now, again, you need to do the error handling because we're not using the callback, so you need to take care of the error handling yourself. So let's do that. So we're going to use a try catch statement. So this method will return an array showing the different items inside the folder. So let's store it inside a variable and call it items. And let's console.log items just to see what we've got. And if you get any errors, we will just console.log error followed by the error. All right, so let's try this. Okay, fs is not defined, so let's define fs at the top. Let's try again. And here we go. So you can see the contents of our folder app landing page. So these are the different items that you find inside this folder. And let's check that. So if we go to static and then projects, app landing page. So these are the elements that you found or you find inside this folder. Perfect. Now, if there is an error, you can also do something like return internal server error, for example. So let's say that instead of fs, well, let's keep fs and not define it. You get something like that actually in your web page. You can also place this inside a div if you like, and give it a class alerts and alerts danger, since you are using Bootstrap, and this will look better. So by the way, we don't see this inside the table because it's not a table row. So that's why it shows on top of the table. Okay. So this will fire if there is any problem executing that method for you. So let's go back to the working code. And here we go. Now let's loop through our items array and get these details, which we will use to build our table row. So to do that, we're going to use the for each method. And let's place our function inside the method. So the name is going to be the value of the variable item. So we are okay with that. Now let's move to the icon, or let's start with the link first, because the icon is going to be a little bit more complicated. We'll need to differentiate between folders and files. So for now, let's move to the link. So the link, if you check, so let's go to the final project. And try to inspect this, for example. So here you see that the link is / the name of that folder. Now if we go inside and we inspect this, for example, then you can see that the link is / projects, which is the link of the current folder, then / the name of this folder. So basically, to build the link, you get the path name of the current folder and you add to it the name of your item. Okay, so what we can do, we can create the link like this by joining the path name of the current folder and the name of the item, which is the value of the variable item. So now we will need the path name, which we can pass as a parameter there. So let's go back to respond.js and add the path name there as well. Okay, and now the main content is going to change. So the first column is going to have the name of our item, like that. which we will place inside a link like this. So let's go ahead and do this. And the href of our link is going to be the link variable. So before testing our code, let's make a couple of changes. So we are using the path module, so we'll need to include that at the top. All right. And also, if you look at our variable scoping, you can see that the items variable is block scoped. So we will need to change that because we need the items variable later on in the code. Right there. So you can define the variable right there using let instead of const, and then change it later on. Also, this piece of code will need to go inside our for each, like this. Now let's test our code. And this time, you can see that our content changed, but we've got only one row, and that's because we set the whole content to one row only. So to fix that, we're going to use plus equal, so that every time we just add one row. So let's try again. And here we go. Now you can see all the files inside our folder, and you can check that by going to your folder. And here you go. This is matching what we got there. All right, so perfect. So at the moment, we've got the name and we've got the link. So let's check if the link is working. And here we go. Now we can see the content of our link or our new folder. So now you can go back to your templates and just get rid of the existing table rows. So if you save and try this again, you'll see only the content of your folder. Okay, perfect. So I'm not going to try to click on files because we haven't written the code yet for files, but we can see that our folders do work. All right, in the next video, you're going to add the correct icon to your files or folders and then calculate the size of your elements.